Welcome to Unfiltered and Unashamed, the podcast where we are inviting you along for the ride, this messy exploration of living our lives on the edge of comfort. Happy Valentine's Day. Today is Valentine's Day. Jessica, how do you feel about Valentine's Day?
That's a great question. Let's see. I'm gonna start with Valentine's Day. Feels like a really capitalist marketing holiday where we get to spend our money on things that we don't really need or maybe even want. And then, social media came along and it became a big competition.
The photos, the pictures, the flower deliveries.
Yes. Yeah, everybody's got to outdo everybody. So that being said, for me, Valentine's Day is a day to kind of remind myself that it's a good day for extra self-care and, how important it is to love yourself. I also really, over the last couple of years, have made a point to make sure that my girlfriends also know that they are loved. So it's gone from a romance, theme that's out there to more of a, how can I make sure that the people I care about and love the most know that I love them.
Yeah, Valentine's Day, I feel like I remember as a kid, some of my friends, Valentine's Day fell on school day. Of course, you had the party, which was just fun to be able to have the little cards and
the mailboxes.
And it always gave me anxiety. I never was a super crafty person, nor was my mom. And that was before the time of Pinterest, but some of these moms still managed to find a way to make these boxes that were just next level. And so that part was fun, but I do remember acknowledging or recognizing that some of my friends were gifted things by their family members. And I was like, oh, I don't get that. And it wasn't, Valentine's Day was just not a big deal at our house. I feel a mix between the two where I am like, don't you dare spend the money on the flowers on Valentine's Day. That it's a waste. I don't want candy. Most of the time I don't like anyways. Give me a gift card for a coffee or something like that. And no IOUs, no cards of
coupons.
No coupons. Oh, no coupons.
The homemade coupons.
Not okay. No. They're not okay. And so Valentine's Day, but yet I still find myself thinking, will there be something special that occurs, even though I'm aware that it won't happen? And I'm okay with that. But I think just growing up the way that we grew up, it's still in the back of my mind. And I know with having kids, I've always tried to do something a small gesture, like a new book or, and they're little like a thing of stickers or something like that. It's rough for people because society makes you feel like you have to have somebody or something special on Valentine's Day. And directly to your point, it is all just for monetary wins for people to have that reason in the slowest month of the year, February, to have that extra come in. So we thought it would be fun to kind of launch on Valentine's Day just to kind of buffer that a little bit. So we are here to welcome you and to say happy Valentine's Day for whatever it means to you. And we thought that it would be fun to start our Q&A Fridays. And with that, we are going to be asking each other some questions. We know each other well, but we do not ask each other these questions because
we may be surprised with each other's responses.
Maybe. And there might be some smart ass comments in there.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah, so we're going to just keep it as in something that we didn't really discuss beforehand, but to just kind of go with the unfiltered part is, it is February. How is your winter going? How are you getting through this time?
That's a really good question, actually. I actually have been having a lot of conversations with clients. This is about the time of year I've noticed after having my private practice for so many years. It's about mid-February to mid-March that people really feel like the seasonal affective disorder kicking in around here. And I definitely experienced that. And I think this year hasn't been quite as bad because we've had some bright days and not much snow. We've had quite a bit of sunshine, so that's been helpful. But I know this is the time of year when I probably feel least productive.
Absolutely.
And have the least amount of motivation to do the things that I need to do. So I know for me, what's helping me this year, I mean, we're starting this is new. It's really exciting to me. So that's helping to just try something new. But on the regular, I make sure I take my vitamin D every day. If it is nice enough or sunny enough, I try and get some time outside. Again, just fresh air, extra vitamin D. I also have learned to maybe lower my expectations a little bit. Winter is kind of a time of hibernation. And, I just accept that after work, I'm not going to want to run a bunch of errands.
Sure.
As soon as spring hits, I'll be back.
Windows down, like, music
on. In and out of whatever
Yep.
to get whatever taken care of. So I've tried to kind of modify my scheduling of things around that.
And give yourself that grace to be able to just kind of be a potato if you want to be a potato.
Right.
And,
Right.
Yeah. I think that's important to do because I feel like our expectations that we put on ourselves to be productive is very high, and when there is absolutely nothing that makes you want to get out of bed because it is just so gross outside, it's hard. And so I think that's very important to remember.
I think the older I get, the more I'm learning to follow the cycle of the seasons.
So let's kind of get into these pre-made questions that we have waiting for each other. Would you like to go first, or do you want me to go first?
I'll let you ask first.
Okay. So my first question for you, and I can say that I can assume that I would know this, but maybe not. What are your core values?
So I think core values, are kind of the guiding principles for how you're going to respond to things and what choices you're going to make. So I have definitely some professional core values. I'm very, very particular about privacy. For my clients, that's a really big one. And so I kind of, will go maybe sometimes to an extreme to protect privacy. And I think that bleeds over a little bit into my personal life as well. I think it's just a strong value that I have, partly because it helps maintain trust, whether that's between a client and myself or among friends, among family members. So I try to be, respectful of people's privacy, create that trust for authentic sharing. And then I think another big core value for me, I could just sum up in the 2 words: show up. So
those are big words.
They are. I think it can be a simple concept, but not always easy. At the base of it, I follow through on what I'm going to say. I show up for my friends and family. And, sometimes that looks different, right? But I'm going to do something. I think that's, one of the most important things.
Do you feel like that is something because you saw people showing up, or the lack of your surrounding people showing up? Or is it just something that you find is just you as a person?
I think it's a little bit of both. And a third thing. I definitely, I think everyone's experienced someone that they thought would show up not showing up, or not
for
following through. I don't want to be that
we all
person.
had
Family, high school relationships, we both have experienced big losses, and that to me was who showed up and who didn't. Some of it I was pleasantly surprised by and sadly disappointed with, but that really came into focus for me through some of that time in my life, harkening back again to when I had my big loss. You and I hadn't really talked much. It had
years, probably a couple years,
yeah.
Which I think is normal. Friends,
we just kind of had lost touch for a while, and certainly my brother had passed, and you and I hadn't been in contact. I found out, I imagine on Facebook or something.
Yep.
But coming back to people showing up, even though we hadn't necessarily been in touch when we were, I'm going to maybe cry a little bit, but when we were at the funeral home and you and your husband walked in, I just somehow immediately was like, well, of course she's here.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I think I even said to you, I knew you would come.
Yep. That's exactly what you said. Okay, now stop it.
I know.
That's exactly, and I remember you had what I would consider, because I was describing this situation to somebody the other day. You had your people around you, and I could not tell you who you had around you, but of course, I'm a lifelong friend, and so immediately I was like, okay, so do I feel a smidgen intimidated that she's got her people there? A little bit, but I was not about to not follow through or show up. Right. Yeah. And so, but yes, that is exactly what you said to me. It was like, I knew you'd come. I think it's the important part that when you do show up for people, you don't show up for you. to be there. Right. You show up for them.
Right.
And because I think
right.
I've known people who have done the other.
Ooh. And as you, well, and as you said, like there were pieces of that maybe felt a little bit intimidating to you.
Right. Right.
But you set your discomfort aside.
Correct. Yep.
Because you were truly showing up for me.
For you. I mean, it very well would have been easy to be like, I don't know these people. Sure, I want to go. Because at that point, I mean, a handful of people is who I would have known, if that. And all of them I hadn't seen in years. Yeah. So, but yeah, I mean, I think showing up is huge. And I think that is something as a friend, most people seek in friendship. I mean, absolutely. I think we want to be independent and we want to be on our own. But when it comes to our friends, it is something that is very, very important. So those are big core values. Yeah. Like very, but it describes you to a T. Like, I mean, it's just it just makes like, I'm like, oh yeah, of course you'd say that. Like, spot on. All right.
Do you want to touch base on some of your core values? I mean, I think one of yours is showing up, but
I would say, I would say it is. I don't know if that's what I would say. I mean, my core values, I would probably say, are caring for others and being kind. I feel like kind of that what comes around goes around. We say karma in our house a lot. The youngest is still trying to figure out how exactly, but I do feel that is, I feel like how I am, how I treat others, how I show up or don't show up. Those are the people who are going to show up or don't show up for me. And if they don't, that to me is like okay,
so maybe I need to reevaluate how much energy I'm putting into this.
Yes. Yeah. And so karma, can that be a core value? I think it can. And I think, at my core, I'm honest. That honesty and truthfulness is just massively important. It keeps things from getting messy.
Yeah.
In lots of situations. And I mean, I just feel like there's really not many more things that like can be a total gut punch than learning that somebody has been deceitful or untruthful, or even if it's not malicious, it can just be like, well, why didn't you trust me with that?
Yeah,
sort of thing.
There's a sense of betrayal.
Yes. So that would be one of my big ones for sure. That's probably about all I got there.
Okay. I'm gonna throw you a question.
Okay.
What do you think is your biggest ongoing challenge?
One. I think they're kind of encompassed. I think it is being me and allowing myself to be me while being a mom and a wife.
So fighting the balance.
Fighting the balance, 100%. Because I like to show up at 100% for everything. And so when I want to do my best at all of it. But so it's like I want to give my kids the time, the attention, the fun things, the lessons, all those things that they deserve and they need. And I want to, be a wife who we can sit and have great conversations and spend time together. And I also want to be me and take the time for me. And I struggle with allowing myself to do things for me without feeling guilt. I'm getting better at it, but it has taken thus far for me to allow myself to make a choice for me first. That just seems like, even saying that, I'm like, that seems asinine. Like, why would I do that? But like, that is hard. That's definitely hard for me. Does that answer the question?
It does.
Okay. What about you?
Biggest challenge. I'm gonna say overhelping. So I have to really be aware, and I'm getting a little bit better at being aware of, is this actually my problem,
right,
to solve, and how much support versus enabling.
And that's a fine line. I mean, it's
really
hard. It can be a really hard, but choice too, to figure out which way you want to go with it. And sometimes that enabling part is sneaky. Because it starts
sneaky.
The best intentions.
It is sneaky, and it's just dawning on me that sometimes my core value of showing up, that is important, but they're showing up in ways that are healthy, and then they're showing up in ways that are enabling.
Yeah, and that's a big...
So if the core value is
Yeah.
driving the action, I really have to pause.
Yeah, 100%.
I'm trying to decide, is this even mine to deal with?
Right. Well, if we don't get anything else out of this, you can change your life with that.
There you go.
Information.
Fixed.
And you are fixed.
all those years of therapy.
And there you go.
And there you go. Wrapped up in 30 seconds.
Love it. Okay, so I guess maybe this will be it. What is the most important lesson you feel like you've learned thus far in your life?
Well, did not anticipate referencing my brother as much as I am, my youngest brother as much as I am. I think my biggest lesson, so for the audience or listeners, my youngest brother was born with a congenital heart defect and had multiple hospitalizations over his lifetime, multiple major heart surgeries. Not going to get into all the medical details, but pretty much from the day that he was born until the day he died, I knew on some level that, you know, we were not going to be together forever. And I didn't realize how much borrowed time we actually had with him. But I think that my biggest life lesson, and maybe one of the things I'm more proud of, is I loved that little shit wholeheartedly.
Yeah, you did. Everyone knew it, though.
I knew from day one I was going to lose him. Without a doubt, like, barring a random car accident or something that would have taken me out first. All probability was at some point you're going to grieve the death of him. Yeah. And I still somehow, because I was very young at the time, but I still just 100% all in, loved him, everything about him. And I think, you know, that has been one of my biggest life lessons there, has just been to have that kind of purity of love, knowing the pain that's going to come afterwards and doing it anyway is just worth it.
I think that's a big thing to hit on, because I think a lot of people, you hear that asked a lot, of if you could go back again, would you do it? So if you knew that you were going to have this loss or this heartbreak, or would you do it? And to know that it is worth it is big. And the fact that you kind of, and maybe it wasn't in the forefront of your mind your whole childhood, but the fact that you knew that so early, I feel like maybe kind of made you have a little, but you're not a huge risk taker, but I mean, maybe it made you kind of think about choices a little differently.
Oh, I think for sure it did. Yeah. I mean, and it definitely, there was a point where it was do I stay for college or do I leave? Do I leave after college? I remember that. Do I move? And at some point in time, the decision was just kind of made for me. What would I do if I'm halfway across the country and he gets admitted to the hospital? I can't not be here.
Right. Perfect sense. I mean, you loved him like a mother. He was your brother, but I think you had that same sort of love. It was 100% unconditional. You did not, and I wasn't around when you were little, but you did not fight.
No.
There was never any of that sibling, bullshit that goes on between kids ever. No. And you were just always so kind and so sweet and just loving to him. And that's more of a mother's love than a sibling's love. Now, I think siblings can love each other to the end, but I feel it's different. And maybe it's because you knew how blessed each second was with him.
I wonder if there was some appreciation on some level, even if it was subconscious, that time was limited, and there isn't time to bicker about who spends more time in the bathroom, getting ready for school. It created a focus where very few things seemed like they were worth the conflict, because the time was precious and limited, and I knew it was limited.
Yeah. Do you feel I know I struggle with that. I feel I think, oh, well, it's also called anxiety for me. It's just I think well, what could happen? So I'm going to be nice now. Like if I'm, I mean, say I'm going on vacation and my kids aren't going or something like that. Like, well, I don't, I have to be like super nice. And,
Oh, you have to leave it on a good note.
Yes, leave it on a good note. And I think but I think that's something that like isn't bad to just try to do all the time. I mean, obviously you're, the whole like don't go to bed angry. Well, you know what?
Oh, I disagree with
sometimes
that
I'm going to bed angry. Like
Absolutely.
I like because
sometimes you need a good night of sleep.
Well, right. I'm taking care of me first, and I'm going to go to bed angry. And
it'll look different in the morning.
It will. It always does. And so I don't think like everything has to be perfect. That's not what I mean. I just think we yes, his life was shorter, but like really it goes fast. Mm-hmm. Like I mean, the amount of time that I know I have spent wasted on, well, A, people that I wish I would never wasted time on, but B, just those ridiculous little things. And I feel like if we could maybe have that in our minds more often, that it would be beneficial to a lot of our relationships in life across the board. Some of those little things are just so dumb. So dumb. Dirty socks on the table. They should not be there. But
agreed.
But
but it's also not worth like
it's not worth the blow.
Like if it had happened this morning before school, right? Like it's not worth setting the tone for the day.
No.
And that took blow up over.
And I feel like that took me a while to learn. I don't know if it was age. I don't know if it was something I don't know. It took me a little while to learn. Okay. I don't even remember what question that was. Oh, your life lesson.
Life lesson.
Okay. What do you got?
Let's see. What are the things or kind of states of mind? Like, how do you know when you're feeling successful? And maybe the first question is like, how do you define success for yourself?
I feel like I would define success for myself when I feel like I've got kind of like a rein on everything. So everything might not be checked off the list,
right?
Everything, but like I've kind of got a system or a way that I have kind of it going and it's running smoothly.
Gotcha.
Meaning with career, even within my work day, each day you can look at differently. It's like, well, that was that day could have been a little bit better. I could have done this better to make that day better. But success for me looks different ways. I feel like success is truly at the end of the day being happy because the whole like money can't buy happiness, and I mean I would still like to learn that for myself. I would not there'd be no harm in trying,
right?
Right. So there's that goal, but no, I mean I do think
but when you say happy you don't mean perfect.
No. I mean being able to sit down, even if it's by myself, on the way home from work and just having a mindset of like happiness, and like you hear a song on the radio that you enjoy and you can stay in that happiness. That doesn't mean that I might not want to like tell someone off on the road if they're going 10 miles underneath the speed limit. I still could be happy. I think just knowing that like where I am in my space, that I'm comfortable and I'm happy, and I don't even mean financially, I just mean within who I am. And I think that goes along with the core values of showing up and being who I want to be. That kind of comes into place too. I mean, obviously, I mean, one thing that sticks out for me is that success can feel always out of reach if you want to look at financial and or career goals or aspirations. It can always just feel a little bit like, well, I got here. But
right. I got this promotion.
Yes.
All right, earned this amount of money last year in my business.
Yes. And so I had this thought a while back, and my husband and I kind of brought this to him, and I will do it every once in a while around the house. I've fallen off, and I should get back to it. Is I will never forget. Now, when we were younger, gas was 99 cents a gallon,
and $10 to fill your tank.
Yes. And then there hit the point, and I could not tell you what year it was, that gas was like $3, which I know sounds ridiculous now.
It was 2004.
Actually. Was it? Okay. So, yeah. So it was all of a sudden like, oh, I can't fill my gas tank, right? I was not in my career yet. I was, we had lots of other financial responsibilities. So I remember just going and getting, and that was before the day that you used a card. Like you had to go in and pay. So I remember being like, oh, I'm only going to get $15 of gas, or I'm only going to get this much gas. And I remember distinctly, and I just remember I was on my way home from work, and I had to stop and get gas. And I remember, and that was by the time you were paying with card, that I had the mental thought of, holy shit,
I don't have to check my account.
I don't have to check my account. I can get a full tank of gas without checking my account, without worrying about if I was taking money from something else. I could get gas. And like, that was just this, like, such a proud moment of success. And that is, you know, because yes, we had been working hard and I had put in a lot into my career and it was more successful at how I managed my money even.
Sure.
And so that was success. That was the moment that I recognized that. But so I do that around the house now. Because, you know, you can get to kind of down the dumps of like, well, how come those neighbors, they put a new driveway in?
Sure.
Like, I want a new kid. Driveway is the last thing I'm thinking about. But I will walk around the house, and one thing I can think of distinctly is I had asked my youngest to get batteries out of something, and he knew exactly where the batteries were. And it's in this thing, and it's called the Battery Daddy, you know, and you buy it, and it's a huge suitcase of batteries. And we have 9-volt, D-cell, C-cell, all of the batteries at hand. And I looked at my husband, I was like, we've made it. And he said, what are you talking about? I'm like, there was a day that we would go buy batteries and be like, why are 9-volt batteries this much? And instead of buying the economic choice of buying the bigger pack, you bought the 2-pack.
Because that was what you could afford.
Yes. And so I think that I'm trying to kind of not play the keep up with the Joneses to see what is successful for me. It's more of these little things of like, we've come a long way. I've come a long way. And we have in our lives so many moments across the board that as individuals, we need to start acknowledging more. And so that would be kind of how I define success. It's finding happiness at the end of the day and knowing that
you have some flexibility.
Yeah. Yeah. It doesn't have to be what's in your bank account. It doesn't have to be that you remodeled your kitchen or your title. I just, you know, are those things to be proud of? And like,
sure.
Yeah, of course. But for me, that's just not like
it's not necessarily the signifier of success.
Correct.
For you.
Right. Correct. What about you? Do you have like a actual?
You know, I think, you know, I've said this before to other people. I'm sure you've heard me say it. You know, my goal is that happiness is like all the other emotions. It's not sustainable. So it isn't necessarily that success equals happiness. I think we all define those things differently. My goal is be content more often than not. You know, sometimes that looks like I feel really great because I had some great sessions with clients. Sometimes that looks like I just, you know, went out with my girlfriends and we all showed up and we were authentic and, you know, celebrated each other or supported each other, whatever the moment called for. You know, sometimes it's, you know, your kiddo surprising you with in a pleasant way, right? Like, oh, those values did come through. You know, so I think success can look different day by day, kind of like you are describing.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, you know, if the people I love and care about are okay to go to sleep,
then you are too.
Then I am too.
Yeah, that's a successful day. Yeah, I love that. Okay, so this is kind of, I mean, I can tell you, well, I won't. How do you feel like others, and I mean, again, this is going to be like different people. It could be clients, it could be strangers, it could be people that you know very well, how they would describe you. And with your presumption of what they would, how they would describe you, would you say that would be accurate?
So I definitely have RBF.
Yes, you do. I see it a lot.
And I think there's maybe some underlying stoicism behind that, or some training to be sort of non-reactive to sometimes, you know, shocking and horrible things. So I think there's a little bit of that there. And then I do tend to be kind of private. And so I've had several different people, you know, like friends, coworkers, extended family members, etc. Kind of this consistent feedback or thing that I've heard is, when I first met you, I was scared of you, or you were really intimidating, or I thought you were really mean. And then I got to know you, and you're, you know, like one of the kindest, loving people ever. And so I think there's a little bit of a comment. I do think that's fairly accurate. I don't view myself as intimidating. I can kind of see how in some situations other people may view me that way.
Mm-hmm.
I have a serious look on my face most of the time. And I am like,
and the tone in your voice, though, like it's like the way you say it too. Like you just say it like very dry.
Well, I was gonna say, like, I'm very clear and concise and direct.
Yes.
And I think women aren't supposed to be direct,
right,
in all contexts.
Right.
And so that can come off as like too assertive or too aggressive to some people. Mm-hmm. Now, I'm not willing to change my approach because I feel like if being clear and concise and direct is intimidating, like maybe you have some work to do.
Mm-hmm. Right.
Because I'm not mean. I'm not actually like mean.
Right.
It's just.
I mean, and I think, do you feel like if you didn't work for yourself, it would be a
barrier?
No, not maybe barrier, but like, perfect example. I know somebody who's going through something and they, as a female, are very direct, and they have someone who they needed to get something done within their workspace, and that person felt like they were too direct, that it basically hurt their feelings, and then carried that up higher. So I feel like it kind of goes where being self-employed, you become more direct because you need to be, because there's no one else to do all the things. But
that's true.
Do you feel like it's a blessing that you are? Do you feel like because it doesn't hold you back in your normal everyday? But do you think it would be a problem? And you've worked in those settings more than I have. Was it ever a problem?
I mean, I've had feedback from a few times, that my emails were too direct, and that they needed to be warmed up.
Exclamation point. Yeah.
Like, hope you had a great weekend. I don't care about your weekend. I need you to just like,
right. This is what I need to give you. This is your information you need.
Here's the task at hand, and I need to know if you can do it or need more support. Right. Not like, mean, just like, hey, let's work on this together. And like the fluff aside, like that's just not efficient. So, I mean, I've gotten some feedback. I do think that, my previous work was in healthcare. I do actually think that being kind of dry and sort of probably helped me more than hurt me. Mm-hmm. Because I think that I think there was a view that what I was saying was more like logical.
Oh, sure.
Or the way I was communicating was more like masculine. Pretty much always felt heard, by male physicians or supervisors, etc. But I do think that was because I wasn't like the hysterical woman.
How dare.
That's like responding to emotionally to things.
Right.
So for the industry that I was in, I think that was good.
Yeah.
Now, had I been in sales, maybe not so much.
Right. You may not have gone over as well. I think it's interesting because we, as women, are, exactly that, like kind of told, like, don't be rude. Don't be rude. But also,
be firm.
But be firm. But, make sure you get your point across. How do you expect others to know what you want if you can't tell them? But then you tell them and you're punished for it. I mean, or you're, told to warm it up. And it's just like, well, that's unfortunate that I can't do that for you.
Yeah.
This is
Sometimes
it.
I can't.
Sometimes I can't. Yeah. I mean, it is what it is.
Right.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah. How do you think other people see you?
I mean, we've talked about this. Well, I think it's changed over the years. I think definitely, and I don't know where it shifted, but I was the doormat. Mm-hmm. I had a good friend who always said, stop being a doormat. And that was because I didn't want, I wanted to make everyone happy. So I feel like now I get that intimidated. I mean, I'm intimidating because
I would venture to say that a lot of the women in our circle
would come up. People would describe as
that you and I have would describe them as intimidating.
Yes, I would agree with that. Mm-hmm. And I think I had somebody, and I think not discriminating, but like intimidating but also motherly.
Mhm.
So I've always kind of had that as well.
I can attest to that from like day one. Yeah.
Yeah. And I would say that's, I mean, do I feel like I'm intimidating? No, but I do feel like I'm intentionally direct. Like I'm intentionally, when I want to get something done and get a point across, I'm going to do that. I still have those damn tears that like pop up, when I get really worked up, and I shouldn't have to try to work on that. But unfortunately, I do, because the second you start choking up because I'm so irritated or frustrated or whatnot, then I feel like I'm taken less seriously. So that frustrates me. So I'm working on that. But I mean, I would say that's accurate. And I think I had somebody who actually told me that, oh my gosh, like when I first, and it was in a professional setting. When I first met you, I was so intimidated by you. Mm-hmm. You just seemed like you had your act together, like everything, you were hitting all those notes. And then she's like, but as I've gotten to know you, she's like, I realize that that's because you're so intentionally passionate about the things that are important to you and people who are important to you. And that was big, because I was like, yeah, you're kind of right. I mean, like, because why else am I going to be this way? Like, I'm not going to stand up and be aggressive or loud or whatever without reason.
Right. Every hill isn't a hill to die on.
Right.
Like, you have discernment about like how important is this particular thing to me, and how much am I willing to go to bat.
So I think we're similar in that way.
I think so too. Yeah.
I guess maybe that's because of just how we grew up together, and yeah, people struggle with that.
Well, we had that suburban high school.
That's real tough.
Mean girl experiences.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I don't remember in high school the mean girl. I had it in middle school.
I think we were the mean girl. You don't think so?
Well, I mean, I was so disconnected come sophomore year. So I think in freshman year, I don't know if we were the mean girls. I think we were the girls who came out of middle school kind of dorky and nerdy, and we finally found our people, and we went in not willing to take any shit.
Yes. I think that's what I mean by mean.
Okay. Like we weren't bullying people.
We weren't bullying people, but we were not like meek and mild.
No. Shit. No. Because I had taken enough of it in middle school. Right. I'm not dealing with that. Like, it was very Yeah. And because again we had our group. Right. And that's a safe zone for sure. I mean, I think that first day, your mom dropped us off, I believe, freshman year of high school. Yeah. And like just being able to have somebody to walk in with. And like, and there are so many people who don't. Yeah. And the fact that then we got in there, and it just kind of made it just like naturally our group kind of grew with all like-minded people, which was nice, because there wasn't anybody that we had like that, you always have, but we welcomed people, but we were not going to be the ones who were going to be made fun of anymore. Right. I mean, they probably said lots of things about their back, but where are they now and where are we? It's fine. I'm kidding. I know where like 4 of them are. Like, I mean, well, and no one's really doing any terrible things, but that's true. Yeah. But where are we at? Okay. So what would you say your proudest accomplishment is?
Oof. I mean, proudest or
right now.
Like,
doesn't have to be, I think you have moments in your life. It's like, of course you're proud that you graduated high school, proud that you graduated, all these things. But like right now, today.
Really, I think, really one of my proudest accomplishments, I got divorced about 10 years ago, coming up on 10 years. And I have had, by my definition, like a really successful 10 years as a single person. I own my own home. I have my own business. I'm raising my nephew. I'm very close with my niece. I have an amazing group of girlfriends that, I consider to be my soulmates, that I've had so much fun and so many exciting opportunities and experiences with over my last decade of essentially being single. And so I'm proud to have been able to maintain like a lifestyle, I guess, that I'm really content with. And I've been able to do that on my own.
I mean, it is something to be extremely proud of. And I had a conversation with a different friend a while back, and she is a single woman who has, I mean, she's had live-in boyfriends here and there, but she is and has been responsible for herself. And she struggles with some family things, and this, she was like, I just don't understand um, why my mom is always helping my brother or this, that, or the other. And I said, well, I was like, it's because they know you can do it on your own, because you have been doing it on your own.
Sure.
And you've been making it. And so I think, like, for me, somebody who has never been on her own, I mean, I moved in from mom's house to, with my now husband. And there is a comfort in that in many ways. But then, I mean, I always look at my friends like you I'm like, that's pretty badass. Like, that's,
thank you.
Yeah. I mean, like, just the fact that you can do it. My thing, I think, too, is like the financial responsibility of not being irresponsible and making sure that, like, I am fully responsible for the house payment and, like, I mean, like, all the stuff. And so I think it's so cool to see. And the fact that you also get to live life. I mean, like, live life while being responsible for everything, and you get to do things by your choosing and your choice. And not that I don't get to, it's just I have that other part to look into it with. And I mean, it's not jealousy, but it is just like, sometimes it's always like, that looks really nice over there, you know?
Grass is greener on the other side. There's pros and cons to both.
100%.
Right? Look at you and your husband and the things that you guys have done and created together.
Right.
And the ways that you're able to rely on each other.
Mm-hmm.
And, from my side of the street or yard or whatever, I have longed for somebody that
makes that fit for you.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
And I mean, and it is, it's pros and cons. Life is full of it, right? Mm-hmm. You don't get to do,
right. Like, I hate that I'm fully financially responsible on my own. I adore that I never have to ask anyone if I can buy something,
right?
Or if, this trip is in the budget.
Well, right. Like,
whatever.
you can make that choice on your own.
Yeah. Pros and cons.
Yep. 100%.
To all of it.
Yes. Yeah. That is a really great, that you should be very proud of that.
Thank you.
Yeah. Very good.
What's your proudest kind of accomplishment currently?
I think my proudest accomplishment that I have currently is the relationships that I have in my life, and that they all can blend together if I want them to.
Sure.
So,
like, if you hosted
a
New Year's Eve party, everyone would get along.
And that means even like within, I mean, of course it's not all perfect, but like, my people are very important, and that's my kids and my husband and friends, and they all kind of can blend together. And I feel like that also, the other thing that I think goes along with that is because I have found more of who I am. And that's big. I feel like that's big. I feel like I kind of got chopped at the knees growing up of being able to come into my own and be me. And so the fact that I have been able to develop that and keep my people and keep those relationships strong within each other, and then separately, I feel like is something that I would say is where I feel pretty accomplished in that.
Do you feel like, as you follow-up question, unofficially, but do you feel like the more you came into your own, or the more you felt like you were showing up authentically in different parts of your life, that maybe attracted some of the people that are in your life now that are also, that can see you authentically and show up authentically themselves, and then maybe some friendships fell off that where you couldn't fully be yourself?
I feel like, if anything, I have new people that have been drawn into my life. I don't have really many relationships that have fallen off, but I also didn't give much time to people that I didn't want to give time to. I think those fell off years ago, and maybe I thought I came more into myself years ago than I would have ever thought. But no, I feel like more people are coming to me that are like-minded, or that are willing to lift me up instead of tear me down. And I do feel like when I was younger, there were people that would come in that did not always have great intentions.
Sure.
But because my intentions for myself have changed, I feel like then, in turn, that's come to me.
Yeah, I've noticed, and I think I've noticed just because I have friends from different parts of my life. and have, maybe hosted a dinner or something where friends from different parts of my life have come together. And I think there's also like a piece of just maturing there. I really at this point am kind of the mindset of, you know, if you have a friend, they're my friend too. Because sure. Like we share so many similar values, trust you. Whereas I think sometimes when we're younger, there's a little bit of competition or something. And I just think as we've matured, there's more grace or more openness. To know each other's people from different parts of each other's lives.
Right. Well, and to be willing to accept, like you made the joke the other day when I said that we were going out with some of my work friends, and you're like, what, you have another friend? Right. I mean, and right. It's like, I think in your youth that hurt. Sure. If you didn't get invited, it didn't matter if you didn't know them or not. If you didn't get invited, it was immediately like, why don't you spend time with me? What did I do wrong? Why can't I be part of that group for you? And yes, it's like, I think that definitely goes away, which is, thank God, because I don't need, to feel bad that you're about myself, about a decision that you made for yourself.
Right.
And that's where it went.
Well, and I think, it helps us to strengthen and expand our network too, right? Yes. Of social support. That's one of the things I love about being the age that we are.
For sure. Yeah.
Is the competition that shows up really heavy in life between women early on is it's unfair. It is, and it's paralyzing.
It's detrimental, I think, to women, to girls. I mean, how many times did you spend in your room crying because other friends went and did something? And the thing is that they didn't invite you, but yet you probably
you maybe weren't even free to go.
Right.
Maybe you had to work
100%. Or out of town, or whatever.
Right.
And it hurts so bad that your friends
somebody would have fun without you. Yeah. And now I'm just like, girl, go.
Right. Enjoy yourself.
Take the trip. Have a good time. Take pics. I can't wait.
Yeah. I don't know why we're so built to be so competitive early on.
I don't think I have any more questions. I mean, I think that those were my primary questions that I came up with for you today.
Oh, okay. Well, this one's good, so I'm going to ask. Okay. So being that, you experienced adult things early in your life, just like with your brother or whatnot, do you have any moments or one moment that stands out that made you feel like an adult, but by choice?
Yes.
Okay, I'm excited to hear.
Well, there's probably many, but the one that's coming to my mind right now was a decision I made a few years ago, before this economy and inflation. But I refinanced my house. I was looking at my finances and decided I needed to look at some things and refinance my house. And so, of course, you have to do your closing back. So I went to the broker.
Where you sign all the papers?
Yeah.
I think it's the lender. It's the mortgage. It's the broker.
They bring in somebody though.
Yeah. I don't know.
Do you know what I mean?
Two people. Yeah, it's two people in a conference
You have like
room.
your banker and then you have the other person that I can't, my brain is just spacing what they do. Anyways. So I arrived for that appointment by myself, I don't think there was any ill intention, but the woman that was sitting behind the counter, exactly. Yep. Asked
when can we get started? We're waiting on him.
Essentially. And although I was a little bit taken aback, I really do think she was just being like a sweet, kind person that was following like the stereotypical whatever. Yeah. But being able to look at her and confidently say, no one's coming. It's just me. I can do this on my own. I think would probably.
Yeah, that's pretty
one of those moments.
Yeah, that's a big thing.
So yeah, I mean, I would say, one of those moments where you get mixed feelings. You're like happy and content and proud that you can say this, and then also like, oh my God, why are we still in the housing industry pretending like women can't
buy a house? I wonder, and I don't know what the percentage is versus men and women who are single own home.
If you look at some of the most recent that I kind of looked at,
of course she's looked at.
Of course. It's actually rare to buy in worldwide. It's rare to be able to like actually purchase a home
on your own. Period. Yeah, I could believe that.
Even as a couple.
Oh,
even for
okay.
the
I suppose, yeah.
the number of actual homeowners is very small compared to like the world population.
Sure.
But definitely the number of homeowners that are single women is a very, very small percentage overall. So again,
and I mean, and a lot of that doesn't necessarily mean finances. I mean, for even men too. I mean, I think a lot of people who are single, it is a responsibility to maintain
Sure. Yeah.
a whole home. I mean, what was it a couple of years ago? You had water leak, like, and you had to deal with all that. I mean, like, so it is a huge responsibility to take on. And so to do that on your own, I don't know if I'd want to. I mean, I love having a house, but I mean, a condo.
Yeah, I mean, there's definitely
nice.
been moments where I've thought, you know, renting.
There are
making
perks.
This someone else's problem doesn't sound so bad.
It is something, though. I
pros
think,
and cons on both sides.
Right. I think that it is something that, at least I think where we live, was instilled in us as what you do.
Absolutely.
You buy a home. You do not rent. You buy a home. It is
renting is a quote unquote waste of money. Why would you give someone money when you could invest it
in a home?
Yeah. For yourself.
Which I see the logic. I do. I just also hate having to be responsible to, my yard.
Snow removal.
Paying to water the lawn. I mean, just like all the things. And then, in the house itself.
Changing the furnace.
Yeah. I mean, we saw the other day, like, water dripping from the middle of a gutter. And it was just like, why? Yeah. So, I mean, there's lots of reasons, I think, to not own a home where that's what we were told to do.
To acknowledge the maybe to some degree privilege, but I certainly have gratitude that during the time when you bought your home, when I bought my home, there was a lot more incentive to purchase a home.
Oh, for sure, yes.
Real estate was
reasonable.
Much like the cost of a home was much more reasonable. Interest rates were great, and that just it made more sense. It absolutely made more sense. We were fortunate with the timing, and that honestly just had to do with like when we were born,
right? I mean, really, and like the choices,
and it falling in line with the housing market.
How old were you when you bought your home?
So I was 25.
Okay.
Yeah. And you guys were?
I was 21. Yeah, 21 and 23. I mean, and I look back, we had no right owning a home.
Well, but you did.
But we did, and we did it.
And you made it work.
Yep.
And it was a great investment.
It was because
it was a starter home. Yep. You're in your second home now.
Yeah.
Now I'm still in my starter home, and I'm fine with that.
Right. Because you downsized people. So you didn't. you didn't need to get a bigger home.
That is very true.
Yeah. Yeah, that makes a difference. I just keep bringing more in, so it's like I'm done. There's no more people. Well, maybe not for me though. And I think because it is Valentine's Day, one little question that we could end on is what makes each of us feel special. And by special, I mean that somebody's lifting you up. Special, not like special in monetary or in like
emotionally.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think for me it would be just small, thoughtful things. I'm obsessed with writing with certain kinds of So like if my partner or a friend was like, oh my gosh, I saw these pens, I thought you'd love them, maybe it was a $2 or $3 or $5 thing, but it was the thoughtfulness.
So thinking in
randomness,
thinking of you outside of the norm. Now, does that go? Because this also kind of falls into like your, what do they call that? Your does that also include a gift, even if it's small, not necessarily big, but like do they kind of go hand in hand for you?
No.
Okay.
No, I think that's like
but if someone
that would be like a physical.
If I gave you if I was like, oh, here, I got this for you, and it was an ugly duck statue for you to put in your front yard. I mean,
God,
like some people would be like, oh my gosh, they thought of me, like how nice, and I don't.
Yeah.
I mean,
I would wonder where you're at with your hormonal cycle.
That's fair.
I'm just going to be honest because,
duck, I don't know why. I thought peacock first. I was like, wait, those can be pretty.
Those can be pretty. Yeah. my investment in my yard work.
Right.
And you kind of have a sense of my style after all these years.
Yeah.
Like,
ducks wouldn't be your jam.
I would either wonder if you were okay
That's fair.
Or
if someone gifted it to me and I had to
I would ask myself if I had done something to really piss you off that you hadn't told me.
Ooh, vindictive gift giving. Yeah, passive aggressive. Sort of like that would be hope. That's kind of funny. Like
what's going on with you?
So it's more the thoughtfulness that
I think it's the thoughtfulness, and it doesn't have to be something tangible.
Like a random text message of kindness.
A random text message, or my friend Amy's really good at this and you're really good at this. Just every once in a while sending a note in the mail.
Oh, sure.
Of, hey, I'm really grateful for you. Yeah. I love our friendship. Be happy we're in each other's lives. I think those are like really important. So that would fall under more of like words of affirmation than I don't need a big gift or a big gesture by any means.
I don't do well with them.
They can be uncomfortable sometimes.
Yeah. I mean, no, don't get me wrong. I mean,
if you
love
wanted
nice
to gift
things,
me a car,
right? I would feel awkward about it. But I would accept it 100%.
Yeah, I mean, if you
and I would keep it clean all the time too, because you gave it to me.
Sure.
So it would always be clean. I would show all the respect in that gift.
Absolutely. Yeah. But I mean, if one or the other of us had to do the Lexus vow for the other.
Bummer. Those commercials are not show me.
Me too.
I'm like, first off, if my partner went and spent that much money on a vehicle and I didn't know about it,
right,
and then I didn't get to pick the options that I wanted,
right,
I wouldn't be happy about it. I mean, I would take it. But I would probably still have, like, and maybe that's wrong of me, that I would still be a little bit bitter about it. Like, I wouldn't be able to just be like, oh my gosh, thank you.
Guess, yeah.
Now, maybe if we had so much of everything.
I was going to say, that maybe if they were paying cash for the car.
I don't know, because it's kind of like
really what you're gifting me is.
Well, I mean,
7 years
there's that
paying off an
I assume that they are gifting the car, like they are responsible for it. Yes, they're responsible for it. Yeah. So my thought on it is that really extremely rude and bitchy of me that I would still be like, but I didn't get to pick it out, or like you gifted me something that you picked.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, unless it was, I had distinctly said, hey, this is exactly what I want. This is exactly what it is.
These are the options.
Yeah, I don't know. I would just be a little bit like, was this for you or was this for me? Was this for you to give me and to have that special show?
Right. Well, that's how are we?
I would still accept it.
Sure.
I would still take the bow off and drive the car.
This might be a good time to share that you and I are very particular about our vehicles.
Yeah.
And always have been.
I mean, yes, I think I've gotten a little bit more lax in the late, just with how cleanly I keep my car. I feel like I need to get better about keeping it clean.
But
I've driven every
make and model.
And I think that's why I've driven every vehicle I've owned to its death, however that death happened. Because once I like it,
you're all in.
I'm all in. And to transition to something different annoys me. Switching vehicles with my husband, it can get really annoying. It gets really, like, I'm like, I don't know where anything is. I don't like that. So we are a little bit particular.
Yeah. So that was maybe not the best example, but
yes.
Gesture.
Yes. So, okay. So thoughts of affirmation would be your jam.
Yeah.
I was thinking about this the other day because it was, someone had asked me, what are you and your husband doing for Christmas for each other? And someone asked me if we were doing anniversary gifts for our anniversary that's coming up. And I'm like, no. Now, I mean, again, I wouldn't turn something down, but I just, like, gifts are like probably the last thing for me on the list. Mine, I think, is acts of kindness.
Or service.
I
think technically it's considered acts of service.
Yes. But and that would be,
they're usually kind.
Generally, you'd hope so. But that would usually be mine, is like, I want somebody who, and this is in any,
it's going to fix the gutter after water.
Yes. Right? And, or, I mean, like, and even, I mean, I don't know, maybe it's a little bit different in my friends, but like, I feel like acts of service, I feel like you showing up for our workouts is a big one. Like, that means a lot to me, because I'm sure there's days that you don't want to go. Well, but I mean, like that is like big. Or I think, but I like having that comfort of somebody else kind of who's willing to take care of me. Yes, because I take care of them. Generally, all the people in my life, I put a lot of care into. And so I want that to come back for sure.
That was probably a deeper dive than
we had intended. But welcome to Unfiltered and Unashamed, because it's all going to come out
one way or another.
And that's where we were with the intention of this platform was to just have girlfriend conversation.
Yep.
And to have, I thought about this last night as I was getting ready for the next day. It was just, okay, what do I have to do? And I struggle. I love music. Like music, I love it. I love an audiobook. But sometimes I'm just not in the mood to listen to music.
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes I don't want to invest my like full attention into an audiobook. And so what I love about podcasts is it's like I get to know their voices. And I also get picky about my podcast because I'm a big true crime person. But at the same time, sometimes I just don't want to listen to murder.
Or you've heard the same case interpreted by a dozen different people.
Yes. And so like, I want this to be a space where you can come and just enjoy our banter and just know that all these little things in life that we go through, we're not alone. I mean, there's so many similarities in all of us. Yeah, so I guess we're out. That was it. Thank you for joining.
And thank you for walking through this shit show we call life together.
Yes, I wouldn't want to do it alone. Yeah, so thank you too. Yeah, it will continue to be a shit show of a journey.
It will. It will.
Thanks, everybody.